this is gonna work this time. For the billionth time. Trying to record this. So, that worked. Okay. Literary devices in media. So, I think that's supposed to be a butterfly. I'm not quite sure. And it's really laggy because free programs. So, protagonists. The main character of a story, like these two people here, Darth Bane and Walter White, they don't necessarily have to be what you would call good guys, but, yeah, so they're the driving force of a story, the main character. So, lots of different examples here. We've got Jared from The Pretender. I forget his name. Picard there from Star Trek The Next Generation. And Emma Swan from Once Upon a Time. Darth Bane and Walter White. So, okay. And antagonist, the character object, that's spelled wrong, that opposes the goal of the protagonist. So, Kingpin from Daredevil, Mr. Reigns from The Pretender, Regina, or the Evil Queen, from Once Upon a Time, and of course, the Joker from Batman. So, these are generally what you would call the bad guys, I suppose. Anti-hero, so this is a central character that lacks the traditional characteristics of a hero, such as morals or courage. So here we have Horus Lupercal, the main character in the Horus Heresy novels from Warhammer 40k universe. So he was a space marine, next in line to the Emperor, but he fell to the forces of chaos, and that's the whole story of it. You see him in the first few novels. He's like a really likable, really encouraging general, and then you see his subtle decline to chaos as the novels go on. So he starts out as a hero, but turns into an anti-hero. This is actually a miniature, which is painted, which is pretty cool. So then we have Darth Bane. He from the Darth Bane books. So he is a Sith Lord, and he does Sith Lordy stuff, like hurting people, and calling forth dark devices. I can't really remember what happened in the book, because it was a really long time ago when I read it, but yeah. So, a tragic hero, a hero who ultimately succumbs to his fatal flaw. So I have V from V for Vendetta. At the end of the movie, he dies. Kind of killed himself to end his sorrow, I suppose, and to get back at Parliament. In the end of the movie, he blows up Parliament with a train. So, that's a good movie. I really enjoyed that movie. So next we have farce, a ridiculous comedy with often stereotyped characters in far-fetched situations. So the first example here is The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, about the wizard Rincewind, who only managed to learn one spell, a very powerful spell, and was kicked out of the Wizard Academy. So in the first story, he is accompanied by a tourist, Two Flower, who has a chest that walks. What's it called? Sapien pearwood, I believe. So it has legs and a mind of its own. It's just a bunch of ridiculous making fun of fantasy type situations and stuff. It's huge. It's really funny. Anyway, and then we don't have any audio on this, but this song is the Unicorn Invasion of Dundee. So in it, the wizard Zargathrax. One sec, I can actually hear that, so that's a bit distracting. Oh no. The wizard Zargathrax summons forth the undead unicorns to attack the noble town of Dundee. Yep. Corrupted by the wizard's spell, the unicorns used to be good. Now they are forced to serve hell. It's a funny song by Gloryhammer. They make ridiculous songs about fantasy. They're a pretty good band. So an analogy, abruptly switching from farce to something pretty serious. Comparison made between two things that emphasize their similarities. So I'm not going to play this video because it's just that. Don't have the words or anything, but this is Master of Puppets by Metallica, and it is it's an analogy of you are the puppet when you are the victim of a drug addiction. So the puppet master is obviously the drug dealer, the supply of drugs, and then the strings with which he controls you is the drug itself and your addiction. So Metallica, again, an amazing band. I'm a fan of metal. So, yeah. And then internal conflict. So a conflict involving a person's thoughts, often a moral conflict. So, going back to the Horus Heresy, we have Garviel Loken here. He's the protagonist of the first few books, the main character. So he is a high-ranking member of the Luna Wolves. He might be a sergeant, I think. I can't quite remember. But he is the one who can see Horus falling effectively, and it's really hard for him to know what to do. You've got Horus, the War Master, who's been influencing him so much, but then you have the Emperor, what the Emperor would want, and it's just a really internal conflict for him. So, yeah. And then we have Flashback, a scene that disrupts chronological flow of events to show something important from the past. So we have The Pretender, a really good show from the late 90s. Like, really awesome. One of my favorite shows ever made. And not finished, unfortunately. But anyway, in one of the episodes, Jared, the main character, has a flashback to when he was in what's called just the center. They had taken him when he was a child because he's a genius to do simulations. So one of the simulations involved stopping a terrorist attack on a building. But then, as he's out in the world, as he escaped the center, he stumbles upon news articles about this terrorist attack. And the simulation was used. What he did on how to stop it was effectively reversed in how to succeed in it. And the flashback just shows him doing that simulation, and then, yeah. So, flashbacks are used heavily in that show to show his childhood at the center, his lack of childhood, I suppose. And, so, yeah, really good show. Like, my favorite show. So, characterization and different types of characters. So, the process of characterization is how different characters are revealed. So, starting off, we have indirect characterization. The character is revealed by what they do, how they talk, and what they say, and through their actions. So we have, I tried to find a picture of Richard. So I couldn't really, except for the really terrible TV show that they made about it, which I would horribly not which I would completely not recommend watching. Don't watch it. Read the books. So, Richard is revealed as a very kind person through helping this random person running through the forest, and it just kind of it's a pretty good book. And then a static character, a character who doesn't change much through the story. This is Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, the Doctor's sidekick right now, and she is bossy, selfish, rude. I don't like her, and she has lasted 3 seasons, which is actually more than any other companion of the Doctor has ever lasted. And it's really frustrating because she's not a good character, and I really don't like her. She shouldn't be. Let's just skip this. She doesn't change. She's been that way forever, and it really annoys me. And some people really like her, and I don't understand why. But yes, static character. So a dynamic character, a character who changes in an important way because of the actions of the story. So it's pretty hard to find this picture. This is Bilbo Baggins, a picture not from the movie, which, again, I would not recommend watching. So Bilbo starts out as a very good hobbit. He doesn't go on any adventures. Well, I suppose not necessarily a good hobbit, a good Baggins. He stays at home, doesn't really go on an adventure, has a very calm, normal life full of food and hobbity type stuff. And then he goes on an adventure, and his whole personality changes to where he was really scared of adventure. He didn't want to go on an adventure at all. And then at the end, he ends up really loving just the adventure. So, yeah, dynamic character. A flat character A character that has only one or two personality traits can usually be summed up in one phrase. This is Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. It's a video game. The reason why I chose him is because he never says anything at all. Like, you play as him, and yeah, it's just, he's just the generic hero who saves the day, and yeah, it's just, he has no personality other than the fact that he kind of saves the world, except he doesn't. Anyway, so that's flat character. Not very interesting. Yeah. And then a round character that has many dimensions, generally relatable because they are similar to real people. So this is Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He can be absolutely hilarious at times. Like here, trying to decide whether this plant is a very, very rare type of delicious tea or poison. It ends up to be poison, but he makes the tea anyway and gets sick. But anyway, so at some points he can be extremely funny, and then at other points he can be really, really deep and wise through the story, and just feels he has a lot of different dimensions to him. So, and those are some of the different types of characters and characterizations. And so, thank you. This was just there, so I decided to use it. So, I really, really hope that this worked. Like, super badly hope that it worked, because I don't want to film it again. Anyway, thank you.